You won't believe this one. It feels like a horror movie, except it's real life. Picture a judge, the kind of person you'd trust to keep order, ending up on trial for murder. Wild, right? But it gets darker. He killed his ex while she was asleep. A judge, the guy who wields the gavel, accused of taking a life in cold blood. We're about to peel back every layer of this story. How did it happen? What was brewing behind those courtroom doors and in their home? We'll walk through the arguments, the secrets, and the moment that left a courtroom gasping. By the end, you'll see how justice fought back even when it seemed like power might win. So grab a snack, maybe something strong, and stick around. Once we start, you won't want to look away. Before any of this nightmare, Judge Harold Matthews was a big deal. For 15 years he sat high on that bench, doling out sentences, weighing evidence, and earning a reputation for being firm but fair. People said he was a rock, steady and unshakable. He smiled politely at community events and showed up at charity galas, always in his crisp suit and polished shoes. No one suspected a dark side. Then there was Sophia Barnes. She worked as a clerk in the same courthouse, organizing case files and greeting people in the lobby. They met over spilled coffee, he dropped his papers, she helped pick them up. Friends said it was cute, like a rom-com moment. But real life isn't a movie. Their romance quickly turned into a roller coaster of breakups and makeups. It was like watching a storm cloud roll in and out, calm one day, lightning the next. Neighbors sometimes heard them argue late at night. One neighbor told me she heard glass shatter once but chalked it up to kids being kids. Another saw Sophia pacing in her car, phone in hand, tears streaming down her face. It was enough to make you wonder if something bigger was brewing. You might not know this, but studies show that about 1 in 3 people in relationships face some kind of control or abuse. And when one partner has a powerful job, that control can get twisted. A simple survey in 2020 found nearly half of people in high authority roles admitted to bending rules at home. That doesn't excuse what happened, but it paints a picture of how power can warp a person's world. Sophia's friends said Matthews would use legal terms to win fights, throwing around words she barely understood until she felt lost in the conversation. He's the judge, she'd tell them. He always wins. That kind of power play chips away at your confidence brick by brick until you're too afraid to speak up. Still, none of this screams murder. Breakups happen, arguments happen. But the idea that a judge, the very person we trust to uphold the law, was stirring up this much drama at home set the stage for something awful. It's a reminder that sometimes the most put-together people can hide a mess underneath. The tension between Harold and Sophia wasn't a quiet hum, it was a freight train barreling down the tracks. From the outside, it looked like a couple on again, off again, but behind the courthouse walls, it was a power struggle that grew more dangerous by the day. Sophia's best friend, Maria, once told me about a night when Matthews showed up at Sophia's door at 2 a.m., demanding she come outside and talk. Sophia's hands shook as she let him in. Maria said she could hear them yelling through the walls, words like control and belong thrown around. The police came, broke it up and left. No charges, just another domestic disturbance. But every time the cops showed up, it was a red flag waving in the wind. Money and power played a role too. Sophia had her own job, but Matthews made more in a week than she made in a month. Friends said he treated money like a scoreboard. I pay the bills, so I call the shots. Controlling finances is a classic warning sign in abusive relationships. It's not about the cash, it's about control. Then Sophia started talking about leaving for good. She told Maria she was tired of feeling trapped, and she even mentioned getting a restraining order. That's when things really heated up. You know that sinking feeling when you realize you need to break free? That fear can push someone over the edge. Psychologists call it the hubris effect. When people hold big power at work, they start to think they're invincible. They forget they're still human, with the same feelings as everyone else. For Matthews, the idea of Sophia breaking free must have felt like losing his crown. And when people feel cornered, they sometimes lash out in ways they can't undo. Those final texts from Sophia still haunt her friends. Messages like, "I'm scared of what he might do," were a cry for help, but by the time anyone took them seriously, it was too late. All those small fights, those cries for help, stacked up like kindling. On that June night, they sparked a fire nobody could put out. June 15th started like any other summer evening. The sun dipped behind the buildings, and the air smelled of cut grass and barbecues. Neighbors locked their doors, walked their dogs, and drifted off to sleep, not knowing a tragedy was unfolding just a few feet away. Security cameras later showed Matthews using a spare key at 10:42 p.m. He walked in like he belonged there. If you saw a judge enter your home, you'd never suspect danger. A few people heard quiet talking around 11, but they figured it was just another argument, nothing worth dialing 911 for. Then, around midnight, someone heard a sharp cry, like glass breaking or a balloon popping. It was so quick they thought they imagined it. Then, silence. No more voices, no more sounds. It was as if the world held its breath. When morning came, Sophia's co-worker called the front desk because she didn't show up for an early meeting. The property manager knocked, found the door ajar, and walked in. There she was, lifeless on her bed, a single pillow under her head, her life snuffed out while she slept. Paramedics arrived but said there was nothing they could do. Outside, Matthew's car was gone, headlights off. He'd slipped away into the night like a ghost. By sunrise, news crews swarmed the building. How could the judge they saw on TV be linked to this horror? It was like discovering your hero was secretly the villain. When police stepped into Sophia's apartment, they knew this was no simple burglary. There was no sign of forced entry. That told them she let someone in. But who? They pulled security footage and saw Matthew's car rolling in and out. It matched the time of death. Then came the bullets, tiny fragments that matched Matthew's registered gun. He claimed it was stolen, but there was no theft report. That lie crumbled fast. Next came the fibers. Microscopic threads from his car seat stuck to Sophia's sheets. It's the kind of thing you can't wash away. It's like catching a fish by its tail. You know exactly where it came from. Matthews tried to point the finger at someone else, but every story he told fell apart. Phone records put him at the scene. Texts from Sophia warning friends she was scared lined up. Forensics painted a picture that didn't leave room for doubt. At first, some officers hesitated. They'd worked with Matthews. They respected him. One detective later said, "It was like trying to nail Jell-O to a wall, but when evidence stacks up, you can't look the other way." Courtroom drama hit a new level when Judge Matthews walked in as a defendant. Imagine seeing someone you've admired stand trial for murder. It's surreal. The prosecution laid out the case with simple, hard facts. Bullet fragments, camera footage, text messages, all pointing to one man. They didn't hide behind fancy words. They said, he was there, he did it. The defense called it circumstantial, arguing he came to talk, not kill. They hinted at a mystery stranger, but offered no proof. Then came the bombshell. Sophia's best friend took the stand, voice shaking, saying Sophia feared for her life. The courtroom went silent. You could hear a pin drop. That testimony was a turning point. It showed this wasn't a random crime, it was planned. A ballistics expert explained how bullets have tiny scratches like fingerprints. He said, "This bullet came from Matthews's gun." That was hard to argue. Matthews' team tried to question the chain of custody. Did someone mess with the evidence? But every piece was logged and signed. It was airtight. By closing arguments, most people in the room believed the same thing. A judge broke the law, and the law would not let him off. When the jury returned a guilty verdict, it felt like the world righted itself, at least a little. When the verdict came in guilty, the courtroom felt like a thunderclap. Life without parole. Matthews stood silent, his fate sealed. Sophia's mother spoke next, voice trembling. "Justice may be done, but my daughter is gone." Her words hung heavy in the air. Outside, people cheered, some cried, a banner read, "No one is above the law," simple words with a powerful punch. Experts started talking about new rules for judges. Background checks, mental health checkups. If one judge can slip, maybe all need closer watching. Inside the courthouse, life went on. New cases, new trials. But judges seemed more humble, like they remembered what happened. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was respect. For Sophia's friends, every day was hard. They missed her laugh, her kindness, but they found some comfort knowing her story wasn't buried. It mattered. This case is a wake-up call. Power can blind even the people we trust most. A judge of all people broke the law in the worst way. It makes you wonder what other secrets hide behind closed doors. But there's a silver lining. The system worked. Evidence mattered more than titles. Truth beat privilege. That gives me hope. It also reminds us to watch for warning signs. If someone controls money, phones, or friends, that's a red flag. If you hear cries for help, don't shrug it off. 1 in 3 people in abusive relationships suffer in silence. It's on us to listen and act. Finally, rules need to be fair for everyone. Judges, cops, or CEOs, they all need checks and balances. No free passes. That's how we keep things honest. So what's the bottom line? A judge who handed out justice ended up in a cell. His story reminds us nobody's untouchable. If you see something wrong, speak up. Don't wait for the next tragedy. Have you ever seen power go too far? Tell me in the comments. If this story grabbed you, share it so more people know. And if you like these deep dives, hit subscribe to Unsolved Case Vault and ring the bell, so you don't miss our next jaw